Turning to Ursula, who is the ITU representative to the United Nations. Ursula, I remember you had a World Radio Congress, wasn't it, 2 years ago? And if I recall the statistics, out of the 1,200 national delegates who came, less than 10% were women. And in fact, we tried to do a learning session for the women delegations who came to the World Radio Conference to try and impress upon the women who were participating the importance of getting onto leadership positions, the importance of being more present despite their small numbers in the key decision-making processes and the whole issue of mentoring. Your next radio conference should be around the corner in a year or so. How are you seeing things change? Is it getting better? And are you hoping to move beyond that 10% of delegations, women delegates who came at the last? I know these are not in your hand, but what are the trends that you see?
Thank you very much, Chair, and also to Razet and our other wonderful hosts today for the invitation to join this panel and for bringing us all together on this theme, which is so vital to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm going to speak about an area of science, technology and innovation which has unfortunately seen among the least progress to date at significantly increasing the numbers of women and girls involved, especially in employment and leadership roles in the sector. I'm speaking of information and communication technologies, ICTs, commonly known as tech. And with the world becoming ever more digital, we really need to work together to turn this around. I'm from the ITU, as was mentioned, the International Telecommunication Union, and we're the UN specialised agency for ICTs, and we're really committed to connecting the world, of which currently still 3.9 billion people are not yet online. Agenda 2030 recognises that the spread of ICTs and global interconnectedness has great potential to accelerate human progress, to bridge the digital divide, to accelerate, to develop knowledge societies. And yet the global gender digital divide is actually growing, despite consensus among governments and others that addressing it is a key priority. We have Sustainable Development Goal 5 of the Agenda 2030, which set the goal of achieving gender equality and empowering all women and girls, including ensuring women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership, and enhancing the use of enabling technology, in particular ICTs, to promote the empowerment of women. In December 2015, there was an action plan to close the digital gender gap, which was launched at a side event on women's empowerment in the digital age. And it focuses on a few key areas where we really need to take action. The first is to develop gender-responsive strategies and policies, and to ensure access to ICTs by women and girls, and mitigating or responding to the threats online that hinder women's access to use of technology. The third is to build digital capacities of girls and women and support development of content, applications and services that meet women and girls' needs. Fourth is promoting women in the technology sector into positions of decision-making, like you mentioned, Chair. And fifth is to establish multi-stakeholder partnerships to advance women's empowerment within the information society and strengthen international cooperation. As with all the goals and targets in the SDGs, the achievement of actions such as these will require unprecedented levels of cooperation and collaboration and finding new, more effective ways for us to work together. Thus, in 2016, the ITU, together with UN Women, ITC, GSMA and UNU, created a global platform to facilitate coordinated and collective action to close the gender digital divide. It's called Equals, and I invite you to visit equals.org. It's a global network delivered by a committed partnership of UN entities, corporate leaders, governments, academic and civil society organizations around the world, working together to bridge the gender digital divide by bringing women and girls to tech and tech to women and girls, and in so doing, seeking to improve the lives of millions worldwide. So let's work together to make this a reality. Why is a global network needed to bridge the gender digital divide? It's because of statistics like the following. There are 250 million less women online than men. there are 200 million less women than men who own a mobile phone. Currently, only 6% of app developers are women. Imagine all the amazing apps we could have if we had many more women app developers. 90% of the Silicon Valley tech jobs are currently held by men, and companies run by men there got more than 16 times the funding that companies run by women there got. Men also hold 4 out of 5 of the senior roles at tech companies at the moment. And in many countries, while the number of women graduates in other areas of science has increased, the percentage of women graduates in computer science has actually fallen since 2000 in many countries, or remains at a low level despite a modest increase. So a message to young women here: there are many opportunities for you in tech. We need you. As a result of statistics like these, we're collectively missing out on so much that greater diversity inclusion in the tech sector would bring. We need more women as creators and not just consumers of technology. Tackling the gender digital divide in access, skills and leadership would make companies and economies more successful too, as well as to address inequality. For example, if an additional 600 million women and girls came online in the next 3 years, GDP across 144 developing countries could be boosted by up to $18 billion. And the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report 2017 suggested that improving gender parity may result in significant economic dividends, which vary depending on the situation of different economies and the specific challenges they're facing. But just to offer a couple of examples, they predicted that the GDP of the UK could add an additional $250 billion, and that the GDP of Japan could add $550 billion. And for the world as a whole, $5.3 trillion by 2025 if we close the gender gap in economic participation by 25% over the same period. And then on the company side, research overwhelmingly shows that a gender-balanced boardroom and diversity in teams delivers better results. And a move from no female leaders to 30% has been linked to a 15% boost in net revenue margin for companies. ICTs form the backbone of today's digital economy and have enormous potential to fast-forward progress on the SDGs and improve people's lives in fundamental ways. And the pace of technological change in ICTs has been speeding up, risking the digital divides become digital chasms unless we act today. For Equals, we've mapped hundreds of initiatives so far that address issues of ICT access, skills and leadership for women and girls around the world. And doing so has already helped to raise awareness of which organisations are doing what and where, providing a stronger foundation for us all to work together. And it's also yielded valuable insights, such as that more than a third of the initiatives currently focus on skills building, and that initiatives on mentoring, awareness raising and advocacy are underrepresented, and that also that initiatives tend to be concentrated in certain countries, while many countries don't have many initiatives currently at all. Many initiatives also share challenges in common, including a lack of actionable data and funding. And these challenges can be addressed more effectively through joining forces, sharing information and lessons learned about what works and what doesn't, collaboration and coordination, such as through the Equals Network. Among other things, digital inclusion of all people, women and men, wherever they are, for social and economic development will require comprehensive national digital inclusion policies, strategies and guidelines, including for digital skills development, and sex-desegregated data is needed for targeted programs and progress. So in conclusion, the ITU congratulates Razet and thanks you again for bringing us all together today on the crucial theme of women and girls in science, which is so needed to make a difference for women and men, girls and boys, families, communities, societies and economies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula. You made a truly compelling case for the importance of bridging this gender digital divide and the impact such a bridging of this divide can make to the economy, to society. It's good economics, it's good for society, it's good probably for the environment and good politics too. So I hope we can do much more in this area.